President Bola Tinubu yesterday, Monday, June the 19th, appointed new service chief in the country and named a former chairman of the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, Nuhu Ribadu, as the new National Security Advisor. Ribadu replaces Babagana Mungunu as the nation NSA. Tinubu also approved the appointment of Adeniyi Adewale as the acting Controller General of the Customs, even as he removed all service chiefs that he met in office. It is to be noted that the appointed service chief, the Inspector General of Police, and the Controller General of Customs are to act in their position pending their confirmation in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, said a statement by Willie Bassi, the Director of Information, on behalf of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, George Akume. The move by President followed persistent call by civil society organizations that the security architecture be rejiggled and fresh hands allowed to handle the nation's security apparatus. According to the changes, a former theater commander Operation IDK, Major General Christopher Musa, has replaced General Loke Rabo as the Chief of Defense Staff. Similarly, Major General Tarid Lagbaja is now the Chief of Armed Staff. He replaced no other person but Lieutenant General Faruk Yahaya. Air Vice Marshal H.B. Abubakar was appointed as the Chief of Air Staff in place of Air Marshal Amo, and Rear Admiral E.A. Ogala will take over from Vice Admiral Anwar Gambo as the new Chief of Naval Staff. Also, Deputy Inspector General of Police Kayode Agbetokun has been appointed as the acting IG, while Major General Ikpa Udina Dere is now acting Chief of Defense Intelligence. If you recall, during his inaugural speech, President Bola Tinubu said he will defend the nation from terror and other violent crime. Hence, the need to ask the big question on the big story today. Will his appointment bring about the needed change in the security structure, and what direction should he take to bring about that change? Well, this and more is what this big story edition is centered on, and that is President Bola Tinubu and the appointment of new service chief. And that's what we're having as a major discourse today on the big story. You agree with me that it's not only timely, but also needed. We talk about this, and hence our need to discuss about it. And that is the appointment of new service chief by no other but President Bola Tinubu. And to truly help us talk about this, he's no other person. But anyway, I will not call him an elder statesman yet, though. But also someone that is really concerned, and I've always talked greatly about the need for a change, not just only in this sector, but other sector. And I'm talking of no other person but Chief Olori Magege. Good morning, welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning, viewers and listeners.
But anyways, before we talk about changes in the security architecture that President Bola Tinubu have done, I first want us to talk about another major sector, because in this discussion, we're not going to talk only about security, but we'll also talk about the judiciary, because you agree with me that if justice is delivered or denied rather, it will definitely have no outcome if security is even being improved when justice is denied. So hence for us to talk about the judiciary. And our first discussion in this very first half of our quest today, we'll take a critical look at repositioning the Nigerian judiciary to ensure that even all the changes we're now getting, especially as the president rejigs the security architecture, will also fall in line and ensure that we get the much needed delivery and also dividends of democracy when it comes to us being protected and also being guarded. So I want us to look at that first. And I want us to look at this from a special point of view. And what I mean indirectly is I want us to look at the judiciary and take a critical look at what happened last week. And when no other person but Senator Abdamu Bukachawa, who represent Bauchi North in the Ninth Senate, during that validatory section of the Ninth Senate, the senator implied that he influenced the decision of his wife in her judicial duties to the listening of the entire ward viewing his presentation. And honestly, that very view, when he said that, drew the anger of no other person but the Senate President himself, Ahmed Lawan, who had to shut him down. But anyways, the harm had already been done, and he said it. And not only that, he also went further to say that, well, maybe he was misunderstood because the Senate president did not allow him fully articulate his thoughts. But funny enough, like I said, the deed had already been done. But my question, looking at what he said, that he had to influence his wife because of his fellow colleagues for her to take some decision that favored them. My question is, what do you make of that statement? Because I could still remember Zainab Bukachawa was the appeal president and presided over the governorship election in Sokoto State. I could still remember in 2007, she was the one that presided over that. So what do you make of his statement that he influenced the decision of his wife to favor some of his colleagues?
It's a very serious matter, but please permit me first to wish our governor happy birthday yesterday.
Okay.
May his tenure usher in the needed economic boom
and transformation
in Delta State. Amen. Having said that, Senator Bukachawa is an 83-year-old man who cannot in any way be described as a flippant talker. He cannot. Although he tried to recant what he said.
Yeah, because he said the Senate president did not give him enough time to really articulate
that he interrupted. He had already said enough. He had already said enough to warrant the Senate president stopping him. He said, like you said,
I'll come to what he said.
Yes, you said that.
Yes, I'll tell the public what he said, word by word.
And we find that most embarrassing, but not surprising. It's most embarrassing, but not surprising. If you recall, Zainab Bukachawa presided over the PDP APC case of Buhari and Atiku Abubakar in 2019. And PDP vehemently opposed the ladies' chairmanship of the panel and demanded that she recuse herself from the case, which she did eventually. Olisa Bakoba took the matter up in his statement. That no wonder he lost 2 or 3 senatorial cases in the women's court. He said that. And NBA, the national president of NBA, also took it up and said Senator Bukachawa's statement should be probed, should be investigated by the police and the ICPC.
We'll truly come to all of that.
Yes.
But I just want to have to, your thoughts around that.
It's a serious indictment.
Okay, now,
of the judiciary.
Let's really look at his statement because you brought that in. Now, I look at the faces in this chamber who have come to me and sought my help when my wife was the president of the Court of Appeal. And I must thank particularly my wife, whose freedom and independence I encroached upon while she was in office. And she has been very tolerant and acceptable. And she accepted my encroachment. And I extend her help to my colleagues. Sir, that's his very statement that is bringing up.
That is the statement. And there is no more interpretation.
Now, is this an indictment and a pure knowledge of those that feel our judiciary has been getting compromised? And do we need, or what do we need more to be done to restore that reputation? Because it's such an indictment, a strong indictment. So let's look at it. Is this now acknowledging the fact that many Nigerians have called for repositioning and restructuring of our judicial process?
Indeed. Indeed. In addition to what Bukachawa said, Rocha Sokorocha, in the same Senate valedictory session, asked Senator Lawan, the president, the then president of the
Ninth Senate,
said he, Lawan, should please teach him how he was able to become a senator again without participating in a primary election. That he, Rochas, knew that Lawan was pursuing the presidential ambition when the senatorial primary took place in Bauchi. But later, he won the election without going to primary. So please teach me how you did it. He said the opposite. The president replied, it's through complicated court process. What does that mean? Why will court process be complicated? These are the responses on tape, but here it is. The judiciary is the last and the most important arm of government because it is the Supreme Court and Supreme Court. And the judiciary is a place where people settle their grievances. People go to and settle their grievances. When that judiciary is no longer trusted, then people resort to self-help. And that makes it very different. And that's why it ties into security. Because when somebody is being oppressed and he has no place to go to, he seeks self-help. So, how do we insulate the judiciary from political influence?
It's another question. Because
that is the biggest question.
Because that's where I was going next. Where did we miss it? Is it not letting the judiciary have its own financial autonomy, or like you said, constant interference from the executive and other arms of government? Or do you feel even this is more than that? It's a pure reflection of the ordinary Nigerian. Because if you're pointing fingers at them, what of Nigerians? Is the process, is what's happening there in the judiciary, is it not a pure reflection of who we are as a people, that will always want to have or cut corners to achieve what we truly want? Is that not a pure reflection of just the Nigerian?
That is a very, very poor excuse for the judiciary to say that the judiciary is a macrocosm of the general Nigerian population.
Yeah.
No, it is not. It is not. Because of the peculiar job given to the judiciary to be this bastion, the center.
Okay, why don't we have similar issues arise in other climes? In the United States of America, this would hardly be heard of. It's quite embarrassing. It is quite unheard of that a serving senator would get up and mention such a strong statement on national TV.
I will tell you the reason. Because we are complicit as a people. We are complicit as a nation.
Now you've just given credence to when I asked, is this not a reflection of who we are?
You see, look, you cannot say it's a reflection of what we are. When the Green Eagles, our national team, plays a game, and we are all watching, and the result is bad, everybody becomes a critic. We demand the removal of the coach.
Of course.
We demand the removal of this person. We demand the removal of this. We don't blame it on the referee. We blame it on the coach. It is because we are lethargic as a people. We are extremely lethargic. That statement in better climes will be investigated, thoroughly investigated. The persons, the individuals that Bukka Chawa helped
will be called
to order.
Yes. Who are they?
And punishment will be meted to them. And steps will be taken to ensure that such a thing does not repeat itself. Are you getting? But he has said it's been swept over and forgotten.
So do you feel the judicial arm of government is not free? Hence, they can easily be swayed. Is it a lack of financial autonomy? Because many people who are credited to wealth, they can easily be swayed to have decisions, not just that will support that of the executive, but other arms, because they do not have the financial autonomy. If you take a critical look at how Pakistan judiciary is, they seem to even have more powers than the executive. If they make pronouncement, is ready to bring down government, is ready to establish government, is even ready to put former presidents into jail and let them even be barred from politics. So do you feel that lack of financial autonomy can also be blamed for the constant interference of either the executive or the legislature on
the executive? The executive is biggest underminer of judicial independence. When judiciary gives a ruling or a judgment that is unfavorable to government, government does not obey. It is not a secret that in previous governments, the Attorney General of the country was going about shopping for courts that will give favorable decision in favor of government. It's not news. So when the executive itself undermines the judiciary openly, what do you expect? When you talk of judicial autonomy,
financial autonomy.
Yes, to extent they are autonomous.
Who pays the pipeline that takes it too?
They get the budget. They get their own budget.
But it goes through the state, either state executive or the federal executive.
It goes through the it goes through the legislature for clearance. There's no government in this world where an arm says, I want this amount of money, and that it will not be scrutinized.
Of course.
It will be scrutinized.
But who gives them?
Who collects the money? It's the executive that collects on all revenue in the country. It's the executive that controls all the revenue in the country. So they disburse. But the judiciary had never cried out one day that they've been encumbered by non-release of funds due them. Money may not be released based on what is available. Are you okay to what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they have not cried out that they are not. They are being.
But we saw Juson go on a very lengthy strike in 2021 on account of that lack of financial autonomy, and we saw how that even crippled most of the courts, and even the former Chief Justice of the state and had to even wade in many times to plead with them. But anyway, as much as we discussed that because of time, let's quickly go to it. Yes, the Nigerian Bar Association has called on those saddled with the responsibility of investigating such allegations to arrest not just Senator Bukachawa, but also Justice Zena Bukachawa, for them to be arrested, and a probe and investigation should be conducted on that very utterance of no other person but Senator Bukachawa. But my question is, doesn't it go beyond that? Just arrest and probe. Should it not go beyond that? Should it not go more than that to deal with the issues of returning the confidence Nigerians have on the judiciary? Because who would forget justices that have served this nation with high repute? Someone like Teslim Olawole and Ademola Adetukumbo of the past, and even Mama Nasser of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So how can we bring that pride back to the judiciary that have, in every way, with such statement, eluded them?
You see, we must continue to put the judgments by the judges
into scrutiny.
We must continue. There is no way Uzodinma's judgment will stand.
Anyway, let's not go
when
there.
the fourth person becomes first, that is magical.
There. Let's not go there for now.
Yes,
I just want a quick,
so how do we do?
How do we do?
You named many top judges
in the 60s and 70s.
There was still no financial autonomy at that time.
Okay.
A person that is good is good.
Okay.
A person that is conscious of his or her responsibility is conscious of it, irrespective of the conditions he makes himself. And nobody forces anybody anyway to become a judge. Nobody forces. So, but once you go in, whatever the conditions you meet, you have to perform steadily. You must perform steadily. You must realize that you hold the power of life and death over people. So it's a heavy responsibility that you must carry out with utmost responsibility. And when that fails, there must also be peer review. NJC, I will not say that I'm happy with the National Judicial Council. I'm not. What have they done about this Bukachawa revelation? They are mute. They had a meeting last week.
Yesterday.
And they made no statement. They avoided it. In a proper situation, irrespective of the crime. That statement by Senator Bukachawa, is a big dent on the judiciary. And we expect that the National Judicial Council will rise up to the task. will speaking with their mouth or taking action, does it require financial independence on their part? Financial autonomy on their part? A person as high as the president of the Court of Appeal, the second highest court of the land, has been said by her own husband.
Of such lengthy accusations.
Yes.
But I'll plead with you to hold on. We need to go on a break now. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion as we even try not just to wrap this up, but also talk about that seems to be major. And we're talking about the appointment of new service chief and what that will mean, not just for this administration, but for Nigerians that seem to be on the receiving end when it comes to the issue of insecurity. Let's go on a break.